What's up, guys?
Hey, everybody.
Kyle here, Tammy. We own Double Phoenix Jiu Jitsu, and just want to talk to you guys a little bit about injuries and Coach Tammy's surgery coming up. So
Injuries and
recovery, what to do.
all that kind of thing. So Kyle was just asking me about any advice I could give on any competitive athlete who's affected by an injury, and that's gonna be pretty much all of you. Like, if you stick with this long enough, if you train hard enough, at some point you're gonna get injured. It might be minor, and it could be less minor, but the fact is that we do a contact sport. A good friend of mine once said, "This is not checkers." So things can happen, and the most important part is, how do we deal with things when they happen? Of course. I mean, I've known athletes to come back off of some really serious injuries. Plenty of professional competitors in our sport have, do, and will continue to. And I think the most important thing is just to keep your mind on your long-term goals. You know,
Right.
so like, okay, I have this injury, I have to have surgery, and that means that I'm going to be out of training for like 3 months, and that sounds like a really long time, and it's going to feel like a really long time, but at the end of that 3 months, I'm going to come back, I'm going to get strong again, and I'm going to be better than ever. I'm not training jiu-jitsu so that I can do jiu-jitsu for the next 3 months of my life and then move on. So if I have to take the next 3 months to get healthy so that I can spend the rest of my life doing what I love, it's totally worth it.
Well, explain like what's going on with you. So
I have a shoulder injury. My labrum's torn, back to front, 100%. It's missing in action. It's just gone. It's not going to get better on its own. It just isn't. And for me to continue training, I have to have it fixed. Like, I mean, if I was not an active person, I could maybe just sort of limp along through my life without getting it fixed, and it wouldn't be the end of the world. But those are not my goals. And so in order to continue working towards my goals of being, a professional athlete in this sport, I have to address this problem. Got to just face things head on, work through it, and keep your long-term goals in mind. It's not going to be forever. I had shoulder surgery in 2011, and 9 months...
On the other one.
Yeah, on my other shoulder, and 9 months later, I won my division at Pan Am's. So it's not going to take you out of this game forever. I think some part of us, when we're injured, has this fear of like, oh, I'm never going to be the same again. I'm never going to be able to come back and do this. I'm never going to get strong again. Or I think sometimes people worry that in the meantime, while they're out, they're going to become somehow irrelevant to their training partners or to their students, or
right.
or however else they might feel.
It's like an identity crisis.
Yeah, but the thing is,
because you're like, I'm not able to do the thing.
I won't be able to teach. I
my
won't be able
thing.
to train. But you are greater than the sum of your parts, and you're more than just this one thing that you do. And the fact that you're not going to be able to do it for this relatively short period of time doesn't change who you are, or what you have the potential to become, or what you're able to offer your peers or your students or anybody else that you interact with.
But what are you gonna do? I know you're like,
what am I gonna do?
Kind of the hardcore group.
It's true.
What
I
are
have
you
been
gonna
known. Well, I think you just gotta carry on. There's a lot of things you can do while you're injured. Okay, so this is an important part. Sometimes people feel better when they can take some form of action. Nobody wants to just think, okay, I'm sitting around. So what am I gonna do? There's a couple things I'm gonna do. One of them is that I'm gonna keep thinking about my training. A lot of people don't even want to think about it because they miss it so much, and I totally get that. But there's a lot of really interesting research that shows that mentally, imagining yourself practicing a physical task actually does increase your ability to perform that task. So if you are a pianist and you imagine yourself rehearsing your piano piece, even without touching the piano, you will become better at that than if you were to do nothing at all. Of course, physically practicing something is always the best, but in lieu of that, like just concentrating mentally on parts of your training can still help you improve while you're physically out. The other thing is that once you're sort of like halfway back, when you're starting to train but you're not 100%, I have found in the past that losing the ability to do certain things helps you improve in other areas and helps you become very innovative. So there's a lot of technique that I do that I would never have done had I always had complete and full use of both my arms. There was a long period where I really couldn't use my right arm well before and after my previous surgery. So there's a lot of things that I kind of figured out and that I still do. And if I hadn't have had that sort of obstacle or challenge, then probably would never have come to those sort of techniques, ways of moving my body.
What would you say for people who want to get into jiu-jitsu but they're afraid of being injured?
Sure. I mean, that's a real concern. The first thing I would say is that real injuries in jiu-jitsu are actually pretty infrequent. I've been training hard for 8 years, almost always the smallest person in the room, and I've had 2 injuries. So I'd say, like, it's pretty good. And those injuries have been relatively minor. Like, I'm gonna be fine. So compared to other sports, especially compared to other contact sports, injuries in jiu-jitsu are relatively infrequent. Now, having said that, there are still injuries. I think the biggest thing to keep in mind is that you are not made of glass. And even if you are injured, your body is amazing and you will heal. And you're going to be able to overcome that little obstacle and then be less afraid in the future of things happening to you, because you'll be able to draw on your previous experience and appreciate your own resilience. I think that's one of the things that jiu-jitsu, I think, can bring to your life, is really a real solid appreciation of your own resilience, because if you don't have it, you're gonna find it in jiu-jitsu. I think the real question is, like, what should you do when you're injured? Should you take off completely? Should you just try to push through it? And first and foremost, see your doctor. Like, this is not medical advice. You have to see your doctor, because every injury is different, and some are minor and some are more major, and each one needs a different recovery strategy. But the biggest thing that I think people should take home is that unless your doctor recommends that you stay out of training completely, talk to your coach and see if they'll let you come in and drill a move that doesn't require you to move that body part in a compromising way. Come in and watch people drilling, watch people sparring, watch videos, review videos of yourself. If you have competition tape of yourself to watch that. Yep. The first point is just, see your doctor, get your doctor's advice, talk to your coach, get your coach's advice. I know that Kyle and I have no problem whatsoever with students coming in to do a partial class. If all you can do is drill, that's fine. That's what you're doing that day. If all you can come in is, drill like grip breaks, that's what you're drilling that day. If you can't roll, it's not like we don't want you in the classroom, or if we don't want you on the mat. Every coach is different, so talk to your coach. But of course, we always want to see students pushing themselves, but you have to be smart. You have to have your long-term goals in mind. You definitely don't want to do anything that will extend the period of your injury. So you really got to take care of yourself. Keep your long-term goals in mind. This is not training for this week or this month. This is your life. So.
Anyways, that's good. Thank you. Bye.